Removing blemishes is one of the common tools used in Photoshop on portrait photos. This photo doesn't really have any blemishes per se. Maybe there's a mole or a freckle there, and I'm going to use that just an example of if you wanted to remove a freckle for some reason. Looks fine, of course, but let's just say hypothetically your client wanted their freckle removed. Here's how to do that. So go ahead and open up princess.jpg. Press Control or Command on the Mac, Control on the PC, and J, and that will duplicate the layer. So we work on a duplicated layer. And go ahead and click and hold on to the Spot Healing Brush tool, or press J. That'll show you where it is on the toolbar. And you have a couple options here. Some of the best tools to use in removal of blemishes include Patch Tool, Healing Brush Tool, and Spot Healing Brush Tool. If we use the clone stamp tool, basically that's just taking pixels from one area and stamping onto another. You'll start to see repeating patterns. It's not as useful in this context compared to the Spot Healing Brush tool and the Healing Brush tool. The Patch tool is helpful if you have large areas you just want to copy from one area to the other. It can work in small areas. Sometimes you see repeating patterns. It doesn't work as well. For example, I'm going to press Control or Command plus to zoom in. If I just click and drag around this area, click and drag up, then it's pulling from wherever drag to and then bringing it down there. Notice though it picked up kind of the same pattern of skin, so you can tell that it's been photoshopped, and we don't want that to be the result. We want it to look natural. So in this context, instead of the Patch tool, let's use the Spot Healing Brush tool and the Healing Brush tool. So the Spot Healing Brush tool, and the reason I'm working on the duplicated layer, you'll see soon why. If I just click and drag over, gets rid of that mole or freckle. Click and drag there, gets rid of them. If you think the effect is too strong, you can bring the opacity down. So part of that freckle or mole comes back through a little bit. So that's one reason to work on a duplicated layer. The Healing Brush tool is a little bit differently. I can't just click somewhere. It comes up with this error. Hey, you got to alt click on the PC or option click on the Mac first to sample an area. So it's similar to the clone stamp tool in that way. So hold down Alt or Option, and let's say we wanted to cover up this freckle here. What you'll do is Alt click somewhere to pull pixels from as a source, and then click and drag, and then there you go. So here's the before, and then here's the after. These are not really blemishes, they're just freckles, but I'm using that as an example. If you do have a photo of a client or even yourself, and say you've got a pimple or something and you want to get rid of it, those are some really helpful tools to do that. One more way you could do this is, instead of working on a duplicated layer, you can actually create a new blank layer, just an empty layer up here. I'm going to zoom in again and choose the Healing Brush tool, and if I hold down Alt and click somewhere, it's not going to do anything. And then I click and drag. You notice you see the source and the destination area. It's not doing anything. Well, that's because I'm on a transparent layer. I need to sample all layers, or at least sample this one. I could sample that one and then move up, but instead I'm going to go up to the options bar, and where it says sample, just do all layers. With this one, it could be current and below, but we'll just do all layers in case there are more than 2 layers. And so it's going to sample from not just the one that we're on, but also the one that below the background layer where there's actually pixels. So now if I Alt click and then click and drag, then it works. Now the reason I work on this transparent layer, if I hit the icon, you see this is the only thing on this new layer. All right, that's all transparent, just those pixels there. Well, the reason I do that is I can actually adjust the opacity if it's too strong of just this area. So that's another technique, very similar to the first one, to remove blemishes or even freckles or moles in your photos using the Healing Brush tool and the Spot Healing Brush tool.